kind of like this box. If I could stand on it, it'd look a little bigger. Let me just tell you that thanks again for allowing me to be your district attorney. I think I have the best job in Louisiana for sure, probably one of the best jobs in the nation. I love the job I have. It's a tough time. I'm not going to tell you very many good things today, but I get to work with the best men and women as ADAs, secretaries, victim assistants, counselors. Many are here, but also those police officers that you see or don't see, male, female, all the different agencies. These guys and girls bust their ass all day, all night. Surely we have issues with some, just like you do in any profession, but you have a lot of people working very hard, and people are really frustrated of things that happen, and I'll get to Friday at the end of the presentation. But just to let you know, as difficult as this is, everybody wakes up every morning invigorated again to come do their job. What I'd like to tell you, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time, I'm going to run through this program because we have a lot of slides, and we have a lot going on. And what I want to talk about is, I've been working on this for 2 years. COVID crime 2020, 2021, what's going on, what in the hell has happened to the world, what's happened in criminal justice. And this presentation has taken many months to try to develop. It's several hundred pages, but we knocked it down as good as we can. So thanks to the people that have worked on this paper with me. Derek Truard is a research assistant, extremely bright young man that's here with me today, and a lot of work, a lot of thanks to him. I want to go through some national stats and take a look at this. So that's so far away I can hardly see it, but I know that overall crime is down for the most part across the nation over the last 2 years, with the exception of homicide. Nationwide, homicide is up around 30%, 29%, but other places it's up much higher to 40 to 50. The only other crime that's really up high, and it's not here in Louisiana except for New Orleans, is carjacking. So homicide, for whatever reason, is up significantly. You see property crime way down. So is that less property crime or more people at home, less people reporting property crime? Look at it, that decline is significant. Domestic violence, I got a big question mark for this. This is 16 cities in this study. They say that domestic violence is up somewhat across the nation. I say that's BS. Domestic violence is significantly up, particularly in Baton Rouge and Louisiana, across the nation. I don't trust this statistic, but wanted you to see that although it's up somewhat, I question these numbers. You see the red on the right-hand side is the pandemic time, and pre-pandemic is in the white. Drug offenses. So obviously police are now busy with other things, not able to do a lot of proactive drug cases. Look at the significant decline in the amount of drug arrests. Big number. Does that affect crime? Surely people who deal drugs are dealing in violent criminal activity because they deal with guns, they deal with group and gang behavior. When that number goes down, surely you can expect some increase in crime. Louisiana Stats. So you see that we talked about the overall increase in murder just nationwide, but take a look at Louisiana per capita is 14.9 per 100,000 per capita, and then look at the United States murder rate of 7.8. So Louisiana is much higher than the overall rate, but unfortunately the news is much worse for Baton Rouge. What cities drive crime? Louisiana is always going to be number one. It has been for the last 30 years in homicide. Take a look at the cities. Obviously Baton Rouge, this stat is old, it's 2020, and we had 117 actual murders that year. This is the city only at 102. And then you'll see like Charles is a big driver, and then the other three major cities, Monroe, St. Tammany, New Orleans. We always like to have New Orleans down the river because they always make us look a little bit better than what we are. City of Baton Rouge crime. So we talked about the murder statewide, and look at the murder rate Baton Rouge wide, 40-something% compared to 7 overall, 14 statewide. This is a city number for the actual city population, not the entire parish. Obviously a little bit less parish-wide, but that says Baton Rouge has a homicide problem, always has had a homicide problem for the last 30 and 40 years, not other crime, mainly homicide. And if you look at other states, this number is a little higher, 53% for Baton Rouge. But look at Jackson, Mississippi. We kind of compare ourselves with Jackson a lot. They're at 99.5 per 100,000. That's a bad number to have. Look at the other cities who kind of compare to our size. Look at Shreveport, not far behind us. So Baton Rouge has a bad number, but we're not alone. East Baton Rouge Parish numbers. So this does not have 2021. Last year we had 149. Actually, someone just died from last year. We have 150 homicides last year. Biggest number ever. Don't think you'll ever see that number again. I pray you don't see that number again. But look at 2020 at 114. And then look at the year before at 19 at 81. We should be, as a city, around 40 homicides per year. I want to call your attention to 13 and 14. If you recall the BRAVE effort, Baton Rouge Area Violence Elimination, that's when we are earnestly involved in group and gang active enforcement. That was our lowest numbers in the modern years. I took over in 08. And you see the numbers of 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Our numbers were fairly low. I know we can get back to those numbers. Things are just skewed right now. But look at the year of 2017. That's the year after the flood in 2016 when all of our criminal behavior was disrupted, when everyone got back together in 2017. And after the flood, people got sent to New Orleans and to Lake Charles, to Dallas, to Houston, to Atlanta. When they came back, all those zip codes and all those areas came back together in avenge us. And we learned from other drug dealers and gang members in all those other cities, causing Baton Rouge to be where we are. But again, with COVID, I think COVID has a big impact on 2020 and 2021. Domestic violence related deaths, this is completely, totally unacceptable. Last year, directly COVID related, 35 domestic violence or intimate partner killings. 4 of those were justified. Women, in fact, in the month of January, killing the intruder, who was her abuser for many times. Those were justified. That number is counted there. 35 is way too high. And that's why I think we're going to have a better year this year. You can't replicate 35 domestic violence murders without a COVID-type situation. Look at the years in the past. We've had some bad years, 2013 at 16, but look at the years 2010, 4, 1. We should be around 1, 2. We should be at 0, but we should, as Baton Rouge, be around 2, 3, 4. But look at last year at 35. Look at the year before COVID-19. Completely unacceptable numbers. I do want to give a shout out to the judges, both in family court and district court. They were issuing around 300 and something protective orders per year. Now they're issuing that per quarter. So that whenever we bring to their attention there's a domestic violence situation, they are issuing protective orders. It doesn't stop a bullet, a gun, or a punch. It does help us tremendously in rearresting people. Homicides by the victim's age. I know everyone knows that it's young kids. Look at the age group that we're dealing with, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. That's our significant years for those that are victims. It's also the same for our defendants. So we're dealing with a very young population. Again, murders for 2020, you see that I listed this year, I believe, I can't see that far, but January of last year, another unprecedented month, 17 murders in a month. It's just not heard of. And look at this year, we started off on a decent number, 8, again, way too big. And then unfortunately, February, we wound up with 10. But we are below last year, so we're gonna take any little bit of good news we can at this point until we see things get much better. One thing that's also significant, this is murder by the hour. Normally the murder hours are 10 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning, but around the 2017 and the flood and then the COVID years, look at the spike around 10 o'clock in the morning. We had around 20 homicides that occurred around 10 o'clock in the morning, and they were wide open gangland shooting with gang members and or drug dealers. That was an outlier for us that we had not seen before. And again, you see the 10 o'clock hour, that's typical when we see things. This is those 22 numbers. Again, nothing unusual. Look at 70802 having 4. That's the bottoms. That's right below LSU. That's always our number 1 population, followed by 70805. Our numbers are very early, obviously this year at 19. One, in my opinion, one significant reason why crime, again, has spiked not only in Baton Rouge, but every other city. If the bad guys do not see a judge in a robe, if the bad guys do not see a judge in court, if they don't see a jury being brought in to say it's your day for reckoning one way or the other, they know they can get away with things. And look at our jury trials. Last year, we had a decent year for not being able to meet. People having to have trials in the big ceremonial courtroom where people are spread all around. We were able to get 16 trials. That's nowhere near enough. Look at the year before, 12. Bad guys know that we're not going to try. And so we have to get back at it again this year. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen across the nation. The decrease in jail population. We have actively worked on trying to keep nonviolent offenders out of the parish prison. We did this before COVID started in 2018, where we try to get them out of jail as quickly as we can. We were at the lowest jail prison population ever in Baton Rouge, around 1,000. That's intentionally done. However, we want to keep those that are violent, repeat offenders in jail. We're not always successful at doing that for a variety of reasons without beating up on any person, entity, division. We have to do a better job of keeping repeat violent offenders in jail until they come to court. We want to keep nonviolent offenders out of jail. We've done a good job at that. Is that related to why we have increasing crime? Somebody will suggest yes. I say there's probably some reasons, good or bad. Either way, I don't think you can make this one indicator one way or the other. Significant to me is case referrals. Look back at 2016, that's the Alton Sterling year, and then followed by the flood. Look at the number of cases that come in my office, 17,000, 18,000 cases a year. Then you look at that year. Things slow down. I have 11,000, 10,000, 11,000 cases a year. So the cases are not, the volume of arrests are down, they're not up. What's the reason for that? You could suggest a bunch of different reasons. But I would tell you that, and you can ask the assistant DAs that are here today, although that number is down, when you add body camera, we're at our 2 millionth body camera download as of today. When you add body camera to that, when you add the cell phone download, social media, DNA, to all of those numbers and cases, what used to be a regular routine case is no longer routine. And these guys are drowning in cases. In fact, right now, as of today, we have 272 murders to try, 200 and something domestic sexual assault cases to try, not to mention the number of gun cases and domestic violence cases that we have. My ADAs are drowning, as well as the public defender. And don't let me ever, you all think that I don't think public defenders should be fully funded along with the court. We can't operate without them, and vice versa. So we want well-funded all the way around, and we need to get cases moving again. This has been very startling. New Orleans has been the poster child. The number of juveniles, and we raised the age to 18 for a juvenile, not 17. We raised that age. We didn't do anything else to help the juvenile justice system at all. I think that system is antiquated. It's based on juveniles and truancy years ago. It is not designed to handle first-degree, second-degree murders like we're handling now. Look at that number of 2021, 14 juveniles arrested as of November for a homicide, for second-degree murder. And most of those kids are being transferred to adult, where I'm trying to try them as an adult, which adds another additional burden to us. That is a significant number. That's just murder. That's not juveniles committing violent crimes. You see the carjackings going on in New Orleans, all juveniles. Shots fired. So a homicide is a good shot or a bad shot or a good doctor. We try to look at shots fired, see how many bullets are being fired. You can see there are significant numbers of rounds. And again, look at the time. Shots fired, the same as murders. Decrease the amount of shots fired, you decrease the murders. Non-fatal shootings is the map of the non-fatal. A non-fatal shooting is any time a bullet is shot and it touches the body and blood is drawn. And you can see we've had a significant number of non-fatal shootings over the years in Baton Rouge, and we're still up there this year, unfortunately. This is non-fatals with injuries and versus all shootings. You'll see the numbers. It's hard for me to read from where I am, but look at the percentages. We have an issue with non-fatal shootings, And that non-fatal shooting is your next homicide. Because they missed, they have to come back, someone shot at you, they're gonna have to retaliate. It's the code of the street. And we have to pay attention to this, and we are. Another significant problem, you think murder is bad at 150. Just think about the poor people addicted to drugs, opioids, particularly, and fentanyl. And nowadays, if you're smoking marijuana or using cocaine, you don't know whether you're getting fentanyl, to where we have to give fentanyl strips to people who use marijuana and cocaine to test because they don't want fentanyl. Those that do want fentanyl are using the fentanyl strip to say, I want fentanyl before I use the heroin. It's crazy. We have a lot of people who are addicted and are dying. And look at the number. The numbers are still out. We're pending 11 toxicology reports, but you see that 296 or 86 people died last year of heroin, particularly fentanyl overdose deaths. When you think how bad the murder rate is, look at this number. These are our citizens that are dying. You see the numbers have increased. Look at the right-hand side, just from the last few years, from 89 to 114, 198, 276. Really, that's going to be 300 and something. This is a significant problem. It is a nationwide problem. It's a public health crisis. This is the fatal, the difference now is that in the past when people overdosed and died, it was of regular opioids. Now it's opioids laced with fentanyl, and you can see the distinction between the two. Non-opioid, cocaine, whatever, meth. Now look at the rest. That's all fentanyl or heroin. That's where our people are dying. This is the map of where people are dying. I want you to pay attention to the blob in the middle. I think I have another slide that'll show you. This map is completely different than regular drug dealing maps that we see, and it's also completely different than homicide maps. So the two are not related to each other at all. One other thing, I saw Dr. Lawrence Scott give a talk on the economy, and he gave us the dates when stimulus checks came in, and those dates just seemed to stick in my mind. And when I went back, every time we had a stimulus check that got landed in Baton Rouge, the overdoses and overdose deaths increased significantly. And this is a chart showing what happened. Unfortunately, they used it to buy street drugs. Look at so we talked about the fatal. This is non-fatal. Look at the number, if that doesn't boggle your mind. 1,400 people survived, generally probably because of Narcan pens and getting EMS to them very quickly. Without Narcan, our numbers will be 500 people that are dead. So what's going on here? And there's no chance I'm gonna read that, Derek. It's way too far away. So, I mean, look, there's so many things that are happening. In fact, I happen to have it in front of me right now. But no, law enforcement is down. The Baton Rouge Police Department is down over 100 folks. We need to get them fully staffed. We need the DA, the public defender, fully staffed. The courts have to be open. The criminals feel like they're emboldened because of those different things. The school system shut down for a year and a half, 2 years. Kids are out of school, they're shooting at each other, they're not occupied. Significant problems for that. Our prison population decreased intentionally because of COVID. People were dying, we had to keep them out. Unemployment, you name it, social unrest, just basic social disorganization theory took place, that when things are going really crazy and bad, things go bad in the street, people take to violence. That's the oldest criminology theory in the world, and I think we saw that in 2017, see it again in 2020, 2021, and I absolutely attribute COVID to the increase in the crime that we've seen in the last 2 years. Some possible solutions. Again, Derek, I appreciate that. In my old age, look, we got to find a way to get back to staffing our police department. You can't be 115 people short. When you are, you take people away from uniform patrol, take people out of intelligence. We have to find a way to gather intelligence on these groups and gangs. We have a very small group of people who are driving the entire amount of crime, and they beefing over rap music, beefs with each other. They're all on social media. They're calling each other out. They have automatic weapons. They now have Glock switches. They have machine guns, whereas the past we were having regular guns. We went to semi-automatics. Now the thing called the Glock switch makes the gun fully automatic, that once you touch that trigger, it goes for 60 and 70 rounds at a time. And that's what we're seeing. And so instead of one person being killed, multiple are being killed. We actively right now have 30 Glock switch machine gun cases in the office. That's how bad that is. Some people question whether the number of gun sales, gun sales picked up over the last 2 years, whether that's attributed to murder. I don't see it. I look at every gun case that comes in. I do know that people bought more guns, but we don't see a brand new gun being bought out of a shop being used in homicide. I do see a gun taken out of your car being used in homicides, and I see the time to crime, because we track time to crime from you report it stolen to the time that it's used. It's very quick. It's 5 days, 6 days, 100 days, very quick. So lock up your car. You can actually prevent a homicide by locking your car. I think we have to get, and COVID disrupted our ability to get with the group members, to call them in, to say, look, we know who you are, you have to stop this behavior. All the avenues that we had to reach out to these folks are gone. Hopefully we can start those all up again and have some impact. Also, don't want you to draw some conclusions to this, but I want you to know, we had criminal justice reform. We wanted to let people out of jail. We let a lot of people out of jail. We reduced prison time. The Department of Corrections inmate population is at the lowest ever in 30 years. We're 35% lower than where we ever have been in years. So that's a good thing. You don't want your population incarcerated unless they pose a public risk to your safety. And then you want them in jail. You want them in jail until they can behave right. But things have changed. So we're at the lowest number that we've ever been. And we've also flipped, because the criticism of police and prosecutors are, you put in jail just people who are using drugs, and you don't want a non-violent offender in jail. No DA in their right mind, no cop wants a non-violent offender in jail. That gets shoved up the rear end the wrong way when someone comes in with an armed robbery and a gun, and he has drugs on him, and I'll let him plead to possession of cocaine, and I give him a jail time of 10 years. So I now look like an idiot because I put someone in jail for cocaine. But the reality of the matter is, wait, he just armed robbed someone, he had a gun, but he's in jail for a drug offense. So when you look at that number, I put someone in jail for a nonviolent offense when I really gave him the benefit of the doubt, gave him that. So be careful of the numbers that you see, but you can see from the 2020 numbers that now 65% of the people that are in the Department of Corrections are there for a violent offense. I can tell you that the other 34% that are nonviolent could be third offense DWI, but could also be that drug offender that also had a gun. Be careful of the numbers, the way that they're used. Does this have an impact on why our numbers went up? Who knows? Some more numbers from Department of Corrections. Again, 35% down since 2018. I think that's a good thing for us. Prison population, you can see the national average and where we are. We are continuing to go down in the right direction, we hope. And I want you to look at this. We also get criticized for having too many lifers and too many very older people in jail, and they're very expensive to house, which we agree. I do agree that people probably 76 are not going to get out and murder. Tell that to the victim's family. It's a hard sell to tell them. But look at the age of the people that are in Department of Corrections now. So the ages are more younger folks. I think one of our things that we really need to work on is these young kids who are trigger pullers and gun toters that we're sending to jail for 5 to 7 years. And with justice reform and good time, they get out in a year and a half to 2. We have to find a way to get to them in a year and a half or 2 so they don't come out and reoffend. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. We have to find a way to help these young kids, because we're putting them in and letting them out without any help. They're going back to the same environment again, and we're doing the same thing over and over again. I think we went over the nonviolence. Now, the other thing is DAs were criticized for using multiple offender or repeat offender. That is, if you've been convicted 2 and 3 and 4 times, there's a statute that says I can charge you as a habitual offender. And sometimes we do. Baton Rouge has been historically low on the use of of habitual offenders, maybe 6 to 8 a year. Orleans would maybe do 100. St. Tammany may do 100. So the numbers kind of got skewed. We changed the law on habitual offenders, and now you can see that just in the last few years, we're going from 466 to 57 habitual offenders. If you are a nonviolent habitual offender, you are parole eligible after serving 25% of your time. If you are a violent offender and you're a habitual offender and is convicted 3 and 4 times, you're eligible after 65%. Be careful when that number is used about we're overusing habitual offender. One thing, again, with an asterisk, I don't want this to be used against anyone. It's just a fact. If you remember in 2017, 2018, the beginning of criminal justice reform, we let out around 1,900 people early. These people were getting out of jail anyway within 30, 60, or 90 days. They were getting out. Face it, people that are in jail are coming home. But we wanted to track this population to let people know, look, we've got to do a better job of helping the people that are in jail that we're letting out, or they're coming back. So we wanted to be able to, I told you so. So look at the number of those 1,900, 50-something% have already been rearrested. Look at the number below for murders and then rape. We got to do a better job helping people while they're incarcerated, or the thing is going to happen over and over again. We are failing in that regard. Bigger number on juvenile murders. This is only the ones where someone's been arrested. I mean, these numbers are significant. It's a 130% increase in juveniles being arrested for murder. I think you have to put a little asterisk again in here that now a juvenile is someone 18 and below, not 17 and below. Many states have 21 and below. I think that'd be disastrous for us, but that may be coming. So look at the numbers, look at the things on the left-hand side: incarceration, murder, violent crime, property crime, welfare. Guys, if we fix what's on the right, particularly education, you're going to fix what's on the left. And we want to keep adding assistant DAs and public defenders because our volumes continue to get high. Violence goes up. If we don't, we have to do that. But if we don't pay attention to those factors on the left-hand side, the right-hand side is going to remain the same. We're always at the top of the worst of any list that there is, and I think it goes hand in hand with why we are where we are. Last Friday, I can tell you, to the man and women that worked that crime scene, 20 detectives and everyone that was out there, everybody was pissed. They were hurt. They were disgusted. They were upset. Not only because it just happened there, not supposed to happen, but because any one of their family members, like any one of yours, could be at the mall. And that's not supposed to happen. You know, murder occurs everywhere, and we all tell you that Baton Rouge goes as murder goes, whether you live in the Country Club of Louisiana or you live in 70805. We've got to find a way to fix it. It affects everything. That is a big telltale sign. Murder affects everything. This was just a crime of opportunity. Yes, you know, groups that are probably, you know, without going into much, that had a beef with each other, found them at the right or wrong spot, started blasting away. Anybody could have been killed. Although murder is never random, murder is always intentional. The people shooting each other know each other. Any one of those bullets could have been random. Could hurt anyone driving by. But yet, those good men and women, civilians, stopped after they saw that carnage, got out of their car, tried to tend to these people, did what you expect people would do, but not a regular, ordinary citizen, but they did it. So I'm telling you guys that we have a ways to go. The folks at the police department and the sheriff's office and the other agencies, with our state partners, our federal agencies and DA's office, we have an incredible partnership. They're working day and night on this case and all the others. It's hard for these guys to go at 149 murders and then go handle you have 12 detectives or so with the city police, or 14. They have to handle 150 homicides, have to handle every suicide, have to handle every heroin overdose at 300. Then they have to come to the grand jury, they have to come meet with us. They have to be a dad, may have to be a coach, and you want them to be the best at what they do, at everything they do. They go from case to case. We need to find a way to help them, we need to slow down this murder pace so they can pay attention and make the best case they can so we can present it to a jury of 12-0. A unanimous verdict is tough. You sit around your table, go home and try to pick a debate, see if you can get 12 or 6 to agree on anything. When you're talking about cases that we deal with where nobody wants to cooperate, nobody wants to talk, in fact, do the opposite, real difficult. So, you know, a lot of people have a lot of criticisms. I've received a lot of emails like, man, you guys have an F, man, what are you all doing? What in the hell is going on? Well, you know, call me back so I can try to explain to you. It's just not that simple It's very complicated because it's people. But we have to find a way to help these young kids and families. Parents have to be parents, and we don't see parents in what we see. One suggestion I have is to start what's called the Baton Rouge Homicide Review Commission. You may have seen some of that in the news. Can we take a look at, you can't do it with 150, can we take a look at why someone became a victim, why someone became a defendant from birth on? Who failed them? Where in school did we drop the ball? Where in the court process did we fail someone? Did they fail themselves? Did their parent fail them? What happened? So if we're able to maybe do that and identify that, we can stop the next victim, stop the next defendant from going to jail. So we have a lot of work in front of us. We are dedicated to doing it. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here to explain this because it's not easy to explain 30 seconds on the news or to families. I know I've taken a lot of time and maybe 2 questions or so. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How many active gangs in Baton Rouge, and is there any chance of mass arrest?
No. So yes, 30 or 40 loosely associated groups, not gangs. Gangs are highly organized. We'd rather have a highly organized gang because they don't do that. Groups do that. There's no mass arrest. You would be talking about a RICO case, and that takes years to do, which we are trying to work on. Yes?
Can you give us some statistics on this violent crime by gender?
Overwhelmingly male. Way overwhelmingly male. Very few female arrests other than buying straw purchases of guns for males. It's about what we see.
Hillar, you were last year or two talking about trying to implement a program where you, as I recall, put out almost an advertisement to gang members or bad guys to come meet with you to talk your way through it.
That was the brave effort where you put out a notice that you call in 20 or 30 gang members at a time. It's called a call-in. You call them in, and you can't have a discussion with them because I'm the DA and I can't speak with them, but you give them a direct message. I know who you are. We know who you are. You're a gang member. You're an influential member of this gang. You are shooting at people. The next person that goes down, that gets shot, the next body that hits the ground, not the next time you burglarize or smoke marijuana, next time you hurt or kill someone, we're coming after not only the shooter, but everyone in your group and your gang. COVID shut us down for 2 years. Couldn't do that in COVID, but we were trying to see about starting it up. What we do now is called customized notification. Instead of calling 20 in at a time, we go knock on the door of that one person, or then also the victim. We say, look, you're getting ready to be killed, or we understand you want to kill someone. It's not going to be cool. So we try to do that right now. It's a limited basis, but that's where we work. Yes, sir. Ma'am, sorry.
What's the role of Family Justice Center with you all?
Family Justice Center generally deals with domestic violence offenders and those that are trafficked. And so you saw the big number on domestic violence homicides. We have now called the Stop the Loss program. We're trying to identify those highly violent domestic violence offenders like you do a gang or group member. And we unfortunately opened during the pandemic. And so we're trying to get that underway now to overwhelmingly domestic violence.
Thank you, Hillar. Thank you, Hillar, and the meeting is adjourned.